This week on Theater Talk.
You're at a point in your life now where you have really become a kind of, an iconic New York figure.
What's iconic?
Well, you're a real New York.
What is iconic? Let's all level. Let's all level today and tell each other what iconic means.
You are like as
it's a mouthwash.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm the show's producer, Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
And tonight we have my favorite actress.
My favorite actress, everybody's favorite actress, Elaine Stritch, making her 5th appearance on Theater Talk. Thank you for coming back and joining us.
Must be doing something right.
You are welcome anytime on Theater Talk.
It's a very relaxing show, and I thank you for asking me. Now, all the proper is out of the way.
Now let's get down to brass tacks.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
You have just opened in A Little Night Music. You've got terrific reviews playing Madame Armfeldt. That show was going to close, and you and Bernadette Peters have gone in and turned it into the biggest hit in town.
Isn't that terrific?
Yeah.
God, good news.
You know, you've been
once in a while. You know,
you've been a box office draw your entire life, have you not?
I think I'm settled enough to say that there's a reason why audiences like me. I really think that I level with them. I don't think there's any. If I wanted, no, I just think I do. I never have lied to an audience. I specify that because I've done plenty of that off. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Still fool, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't dare. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't dare. They're just collectively terrific people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When everybody gets in the theater together and they've got their blinders on, and I mean that seriously, you know, people watch the theater like this. They don't, you know, in a movie you can comment. I don't think there's much commenting, or they get killed in the theater if they make a noise. So. But I get their attention and I hold their attention. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that would stop me from winning them over is bad material, and that's happened sometimes. But when that happens, I supply my own.
Right. You're very good at that, though, aren't you? I mean, when
yes,
you've been in the loser plays, you know how to at least put over what you're doing.
Yes. Let me tell you, this is fun story. Sunday night at the theater, at the Walter Kerr Theater, Little Night Music, 8 times a week is on. So now 2 key players are leaving. One was the big leading man,
Alexander Hansen, right?
Absolutely.
Wonderful performance.
Who is knockout. He's one of the best leading men I've ever seen in the musical theater. Brilliant. Now, he's being replaced, and someone who was in the choral, a young girl who was just adorable. Her name is Betsy Morgan. And I get out, I'm all teary-eyed because the 2 people are leaving, and I'm really sincerely kind of tearing up. So I said, and this wonderful girl who's been in the show, Betsy Johnson is what I call her, right? So thinking about ad-libbing comes easily to me. So I said, well, I went down on my knees, I apologized to everybody, and said that with all the tears, so much for all my emotion, it's all phony now because I got her name wrong. But anyway, I introduced her, and at the end of the introduction, I said, and she can't design And that got me back. It got him back. You have to bleep that when you do it?
No, you would get a dispensation.
Okay.
But that's something that you've always been so skilled at. I mean, I often think, because I know how funny you are, you know, I've spent some time with you at dinner, all that, and you know, you're a very witty, very clever, sharp woman.
I didn't lick it off the ground. My mother and father both individualistically were on their own. Very, very, they were not in the theater, had anything to do with it. But boy,
So it was in the family. So that kind of repartee that you're so good at was just when you were growing up around
we
the
all
house?
had it, so it was difficult growing up.
Was it kind of sharp repartee, aimed at each other sometimes? A little.
Sometimes, sure.
Little Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf in the family?
Oh no, not that kind of ad-libbing. Are you kidding?
She wouldn't have survived. Hey, you know, we had Charles Bush here earlier today, and he had seen your performance, and he said to me he thought it was very Brechtian, and that you were in it and outside of it. That you go every moment, that you have truth in every moment, and you went inside and you went outside. And then he told me that you'd had this very sort of avant-garde early training, and he wondered if you weren't going back to that to reference it
I
for
have
this
no
performance.
idea. If it showed in my work,
Yes.
as the saying goes, then I think it probably did have something to do with what I learned in dramatic school and the fact that I was very elegantly prepared for the American theater. I mean, I had, you know, Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms in my, you know.
You had all the high cultural stuff to learn. To
Well,
go into the
absolutely.
theater.
I mean, I did Chekhov and who's the wonderful improviser?
Meisner? No.
No, Moliere.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I had all that kind of training, and you know, just not just another pretty face, you know, and coward, and you know, high class stuff. I had a very elegant preparation to fight the things you have to fight in the American theater, and truth was number one on my agenda. I really wanted to tell the truth because I don't think you can fool an audience for a minute.
But you're at a point in your life now where you have really become a kind of, you know, an iconic New York figure. You're a
What's
real,
iconic
Well, you're a real
mean?
New York. You're a
What
New-
is iconic? Let's all level. Let's all level today and tell each other what iconic means.
You are like as
It's a mouthwash.
You are as much a part now of the New York landscape as the Statue of Liberty,
Absolutely.
the Empire State Building, Macy's. I mean, people go to stay in the Carlisle where you live just because they hope to get a glimpse of you parading,
Flying through the through the lobby.
Do you have now an issue when you're playing a part that the Elaine Stritch character that we know, does that come out in your acting now? The part that you seem
I think it always did.
It always did.
You
yeah.
can't lose Elaine Stritch in your performance. No actress loses herself completely unless she's insane. Because part of the reason, a lot of the reason that you've been chosen is because of Elaine. It's not, I mean, if you haven't got that personality through any direction, good or bad direction, you got to come through. It's how you behave as so-and-so. It's how Elaine behaves. You know, there's not that much makeup in the world. And certainly none today, in case you haven't noticed. Because, I'll explain that to you as well. The only thing that I am against the American theater about, now that's a lie already, but it doesn't matter. I really mean it's one of the few things that is the fact that we do 8 shows a week. The fact that we do 8 shows a week stops me from giving hello to someone my full attention. You know, I'm turning into a phony. I can't talk. Right. Or,
I can't go out.
Because that's the least of my worries, but I just really mean that it's so time-consuming. That's all you do. And I will not do less. I will not look at a producer if they want to give me that privilege. No matinee. No.
You do the matinees.
If my name is above the title, I'm there.
The first time you came on the show, I remember you told us that Ethel Merman had said to you.
And I'll tell you,
We do.
the wonderful quote of Merman's is so true. You want to do a musical comedy, and you want to do it right, you got to live like a nun. It's true. It's true. But that insinuation of the nun, meaning you're a pure, that's not what I'm talking about, because I'm a few years older now. Ethel. So the point is, Michael and Susan, this is robbing you of enough sleep sometimes to perform at your best. It's just a physical fact that you have to have 8 hours, excuse me, to do a show properly.
But you know, you're at a point in your life, and I admire this with Angela Lansbury as well.
I should say.
The two of you could continue to do 30 Rock and do all these TV appearances that
Yeah.
people love you on. You don't have to do a Broadway show. You don't have to put yourself through the ringer
But I
of 8
love
performances.
acting on the stage.
More than anything else.
Well, it's very difficult to talk like that anymore. When you walk out and take a curtain call in the American theater and they like you, my God. And let me get this in before our time goes completely away. I have got a jewel working with me in Bernadette Peters. I've always thought she would be the Desiree of all time in A Little Night Music, and she is.
Hal Prince went to see the show the other night. He directed
Last night.
He directed Night Music the first time around.
Yes, and I had forgotten that.
Yeah.
But
And
it
he
all
went,
came back to me last night when I saw his face, and he was saying,
but he went backstage to talk to you. What did he say to you? Did he give you any?
he said I was wonderful, but I heard him say to Bernadette Peters she was brilliant, so the hell with him. I don't care if he directed it or not. No, wonderful is not enough for me, so I want Hal to know that. I'll get him to watch this show.
Well, I was backstage with you once when Elaine May and Stanley Donen came back.
Oh, yes.
Where they were
Well,
adorable.
and it was a particularly good show.
Yes, it was.
That night.
Yeah.
And
But I saw you asking.
Elaine said to me,
Yeah.
you landed all the pauses.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's pretty sophisticated dialogue.
Did you work with Trevor Nunn to prepare this performance, or how did you?
Trevor Nunn, who's directed
we
this
just
production.
I had a day.
Oh,
A day. Trevor was wonderful with me, and he gave me all that he could with the time that he had and that I had.
Right.
Well, did you
Is
pretty
it
mu-
fair? Is it fair though? I mean, for a person to go into a show with only one day with the big director there?
No, it isn't fair. Well, what's fair? Have you ever noticed? Come on.
So you're kind of on
No,
your own.
I
though.
went on in A Little Night Music after like 2 weeks, maybe a little less rehearsal, and doing some performances out in.
Yeah.
But you know, my life, I hit the street and it all starts to happen. It's something about me. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just my attitude to it. I have the fullest life of anyone I know. It doesn't mean it's happy. It doesn't mean it's sad. It's just chock-a-block. I'm doing something every minute. It's just incredible. And I'm beginning to think that it's the answer to longevity. I really do think it is. A lot of people think that, don't they, Susan?
I would think it is.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Hey,
you can't
would you
imagine
turn
that-
off your beeper?
Yeah, it's fine.
Would you turn it off?
It's off. You.
It's their first fight. Where's the camera?
We've been going to a day, but it's not
it's
off
off,
if
it's
it's
off.
beeping.
No, it
It's
isn't,
up.
Michael. It's ruining the show. Michael, where's the camera?
Beat.
There's the camera. Put the camera on Elaine, please.
So
At all times. No, I really, I'm very unconscious of it, so I don't know where it is.
All right, here we
no,
go.
it's all right. The follow apology.
And there is no best side in this kerchief outfit I've got on.
They're all wonderful sides,
right,
every
Susan.
part.
So essentially, what you're saying, you will work for the rest of your life. I mean, you will always work. You are. There's no
I'm not
retirement
so
for Elaine
sure.
Stritch. There's
I'm
no.
not so sure. Let me give you an example of how I feel about that. I don't want to do 8 shows a week.
This
all
may be the
year.
last time. For,
No, I don't think it's the last time, but I think it's very few. I would, maybe in another year. It depends on what comes up, It's as good as the material. But the other day, what's that wonderful writer's name that writes about all the little animals, the dialogue?
David Sedaris.
No, God, Susan, you are a love. Anyway, a book
Speak for
came
yourself.
out yesterday of his stuff that I recorded.
Oh yeah.
And I really, playing a toothless bear is time for me. It's time for me to do that. And there's a wonderful thing about the toothless bear and a raccoon getting their hair done together. And I just am telling you, it's the best. It's the best. And no makeup. no hair, you just record, you know, and you can just have cappuccinos all over them.
You have a big future in books on tape, Elaine.
Well, this is what I did. This is what came out yesterday. So we'll see.
So what's the biggest wipeout of doing a little night music or
you're in the
another?
wheelchair.
you're in a
Getting ready,
wheelchair.
getting ready.
Yeah, you're in the
getting-
wheelchair.
So you have to, yeah, well, that helps. But, and I'm so phony. I get, when the lights come up when I'm in the wheelchair, I go, yay! And I get up and I'm walking abnormally fast. I am running around the theater and telling them that I'm still, you know, I can take walking parts.
Your curtain call is fantastic.
I know.
You
Yeah, I
jump up.
kill myself.
You do. I'm not crippled. Boom.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Light the candle.
That's right.
Now, has Steve Sondheim, he's come to see the show. What does Steve say? Does Steve give you any direction? at all?
Steve gave me two of the best pieces of direction that I've ever had in my life to sing Liaison. Liaison! What's happened to them? Which, is a tough song. Oh boy, it's a tough song. Hal said there's something you should know about that number whenever you feel a little off. You're great and you're terrific. And remember this, when you get depressed in any way about that song, there was a woman overheard by Steve one night coming out of the theater. Said, well, my favorite song was Liaisons. No, not Liaisons. It wasn't that good. It was, my favorite song is The Azores. I think I'm so tempted tonight to do the Azores. What's happened to them? What's happened to the Azores? Isn't it great? It would knock those things. Oh, wait a minute. Can I have your program? I don't know who this is or who wrote this. I love it though, don't you?
What did Steve say? What were the direction that Steve gave you? You said Steve told you two important things
at
about
the end of the song, and I said, oh, Steve, don't ask me to. I'm not asking you to do it. I'm not asking you, and I'm just saying that you could try it if you want to. If you don't, throw it out. And I thought, what the hell is it? Snore. She suddenly falls asleep. So I thought, when I got back to the theater, I thought, my God, that's terrific. And I saw where he's got a sense of the theater and his lyrics and so many, he's so smart, I could kill him. He knows so much that it's, you know.
So
but I'm not afraid of him anymore. I'm angsty, you know, oh God, Steve's out front. But I'm not fearful.
So you've added the little snore now at the end?
So at the end I say, and he also told me when I'm saying, it's what's to recollect if not to blah, 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 blah. And she's going to sing liaisons, as she does many times in the song. But this is her last bit in the song. And he said, hold that note. Ugly, we don't care what it sounds like. She's hanging on.
Yeah.
And she says, Liaison. And then she's an old lady, so she gets kind of tired in the wheelchair. And then she goes.
And you get...
And she goes out like that, and I know what that's like because I've left my 70s, is the way I put it. All right? So I know what that's like. You can fall asleep like, because you're so tired. You've been around for 85 years, for God's sake.
And it's the 8th performance of the week.
And yes, it depends on how big the snore is, depends on what day it is. You understand what I'm saying?
Now, let me ask you,
What a business.
A number of actresses of a certain age have been very open. Angela was, and Marion has Seldes has been.
She's terrific, incidentally.
Yes, but about using...
No, I want to say that.
Yeah.
This broad was so terrific to me before I opened it this. You know what she said to me? Don't let them mess with you. You know, she's so straightforward, this Angela.
Who's the they? Don't let them. Who's the them?
It's for me to know and you to find out. But if anybody tells me that, we know, actresses and actors know what that means. It means if they're messing with your personality and you've got a little of you in the part, leave it there and don't let anybody take your and yet you can play a part.
Yeah.
And take them away on an escape and believe that this woman is in a wheelchair and she's funny.
Yeah.
And you do that like Elaine would do it. And Angela does it like Angela would do it. Don't let them mess with you, I think, is the best piece of direction I ever got in my life. And it came from a peer of mine who I think is a crackerjack broad.
Angela has used the earpiece at a certain age now when it's...
I would get out of the business.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because, you know, in the early previews, I know there were lyrics or lines which you don't tell me, I'll get it.
Yeah, and you know what? What's his name? Theater. The guy that's doing my favorite director, that's doing the show at Lincoln Center with all the actors in it.
Oh, Bart Scher.
No, who used to be
George Wolfe.
Yes,
George Wolfe,
George
yes.
Wolfe. When I told him that they suggested I put something in my ear, he says, "For God's sakes, it's her first week in preview. Would you give her a break?" I wouldn't have one of those things.
You would
in
not
my-
use that.
Never, 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 never. That's not why I got in the theater. I got in the theater to. And they say, "Oh, you don't." Trevor Nunn says to me, "You'll never notice it." Oh, yeah? I wouldn't have some voice upstaging me in my ear. You think I'm out of my mind? You know, let him go up. I'm not going up when it push comes to shove.
So there was pressure on you to use one of these buds?
Not pressure, but we will do whatever you want to do, Elaine. I said, well, then don't ever bring a mic near me. I'm in the theater to avoid mics. I don't even like this one. But it's the only way I can get over and talk to people on television. So that's okay.
You're a purist.
Yeah, I think I am, actually, in that department, you know? Because I love the theater.
Yeah, yeah.
And never come late. That's why the lady is a tramp. Happy to admit to it. Happy to admit to it. I just love it. I love performing. And remember John Barrymore's great reading of what was the name of the musical? It was 20th Century, when he looks at all his people at rehearsal and he said, "Children, I want you to know that I love the theater and all the charming people in it." Well, I mean, that says it all.
That's it.
Because there are more bastards in the American theater than you shake a stick at. But you got to go through them to get to where you are up on the stage with those people applauding your talent. My God. You wonder why you do 8 shows a week. So they've got us where the hairs are short, those producers. You know, and then when they say, well, take a day off, get out of here. Then you mess with yourself. You mess with what you think of yourself.
Take a day off, wear the earpiece.
Oh, yeah,
don't
wear
do
the
matinee.
earpiece, right. And take a longer pause. No, you don't tell me how long a pause to take. Not me. I know what, you know, you get fighting with them.
Great.
Now I've learned to still fooling them. Now I go, "You're right, you got it. How'd you know so much?" "Oh, isn't that wonderful? You're so good looking, too. You tell all this shit to everybody and they keep saying, oh, she's really nice." You know? And that's how you stay in the show. You know? I mean, who takes direction?
You can't,
No,
you can't
Michael.
teach this stuff at acting school.
Well, I went to Stella Adler, so I know what I'm talking about. And sat next to Marlon Brando. You can't lose. You just can't lose. And had one date with him. That was enough for him. That was enough for him.
Elaine, it's always great to see you. You are absolutely brilliant, as always, as Madame Armfeldt in A Little Night Music at the Walter Kerr. I think you're there through November, but there's a lot of talk that you may keep doing those 8 shows a week for a little bit longer.
We're up for talking about the extension. And I think, you know...
Hold out for cold, hard cash on the table.
The money, let me tell you quickly. When they talked to me about that, I said, well, come on. This is telling a big story on me, but never mind. I think we're going to extend. But I said, well, money came up, and I said, look, I'll take whatever Bernadette making. I think we're in this together, and the audience sees us as we call ourselves the Replacements. We're going to go do a club act called the Replacements. Anyway, so I said, I'll take whatever Bernadette's doing. And the guy says, oh no, we can't do that. So what would you draw from that? I'm being big about it. I'll take what Bernadette takes. And they said, no, you won't. You'll take what you're taking. And I tell you, it was one of the saddest, funniest moments of my life. But that's the theater.
That's right.
So what are you going to do?
Whatever they're paying you, it isn't enough.
It isn't enough.
I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to do theater talk. That's what you're going to do. It cheers me up. I can get away with anything on this show.
8 times a week. All right.
Oh, my goodness.
Thanks so much for being
You're
our guest
very
again.
welcome.
We'll see
Thank
you at
you,
the Walter
Michael.
Kerr.
Thank you, Susan. And goodbye. Now, off to the races.
Thank you.
Or the Walter Kerr. Liaison. What's happened to them? Liaison. Disgraceful. What's become of them? Some of them hardly pay their shoddy way.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the CORY and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy STRELSIN Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.